Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us again for another Ask Us Anything. We have a special show again for you today. You're really going to enjoy this one, I know. I will introduce our guest in just a minute, but the usual stuff. Thank you for joining us, of course. This is an Ask Us Anything. So the whole point is for you to grab the comments section in Facebook below and ask a question. So we will definitely be reading those aloud and picking those out as we go along. So get your questions ready as we come along. Remember, it can be anything DiGiCo related. It can be anything specific to our two guests, or just some question you have about the industry. So please keep those coming. My name is Ryan Shelton. I'm going to be one of your hosts today. I am in Nashville, Tennessee. I work for the U.S. distributor of DiGiCo, actually. And then let's see here, joining us from across the pond is Dan Page. Dan is our brand ambassador. Dan, you want to say hi?
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone.
Yes,
to be here.
I guess it is evening for you, isn't it? How is it over there?
It's a beautiful evening, actually. See out my window. It's good.
Fantastic. So, as usual, Dan will be monitoring the comments and feeding us questions as they come across those, running all the buttons and the switches, and really it's just, I think it's a stream deck nowadays. But Kyle McMahon, how you doing, bud?
Good.
Fantastic. All right, so we'll just jump into it, and let's introduce one of our first guests, Kyle Hamilton. Upon graduating high school, a Pasadena native, Kyle Hamilton was at a crossroads. At 6'3" for our British friends, that's just shy of 2 meters. He could either pursue a career in football or switch gears altogether and pursue music, his first love. He went with his first love and enrolled in Los Angeles recording school. After several years of working gospel plays, he finally landed his first major tour with the Isley Brothers. From there, the world became his playground as he continued to work his way up, landing such gigs as Mary J. Blige, Stevie Wonder, Prince, Rihanna, and Janet Jackson, and Usher, among others. Joining us today from LA, at least the LA area, Kyle Hamilton.
Good evening. My text phrase that it is evening across the pond, so it's apropos.
Yes. Thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Everything going well? I mean, despite not doing any gigs, but, you know.
Doing gigs, not doing any gigs is relative. You know, at the end of the day, we may not be touring, but I'm still doing gigs.
Good. Fantastic. Awesome. Let's go ahead and introduce Jeremy here so he's not left out and we can get this going. Jeremy Peters started in music growing up in church in San Jose, California. He played drums. His father played organ and keys. His mom and sister sang in the choir. With deep Southern roots, Jeremy attended Southern University A&M College, where he played in the world-renowned Human Jukebox Marching Band. He's been working in and around sound and recording the entire time. After college, he stayed in Louisiana and became the stage manager for a gospel stage play. He continued to work in churches with musicians and a constant part of the music scene in and around Louisiana. He worked for a local sound company where he began to focus more on live sound and mixing. With hard work and determination, he earned the opportunity to go work for Sound Image and to go on his first real world tour with Rascal Flatts, and the rest is history. During his career, he has worked for or mixed artists like Stevie Wonder, Pharrell Williams, N.E.R.D, Brian McKnight, Prince, Layla Hathaway, Charlie Puth, Thalia, Agnes Mo, Neo, Janet Jackson, and Usher. Kyle's laughing at me for bombing that one. Jeremy Peters, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing, sir?
Very good. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us, my friend. Where are you at today?
In LA, in a rehearsal studio.
Yeah, and what you staring at there in front of you? Is that a DiGiCo console?
It is. If I could pick my computer up and turn it around, I would, and it would look crazy. But it's right there. It's there.
Awesome. Are you doing well?
I am. Despite everything that's going on, it's all perspective. How you look at it and how you take advantage of it. So we're still doing good.
Absolutely wonderful. Well, I'm glad to hear everybody's doing well. So real quick, Jeremy, actually the first question's for you. What's it like working with Kyle? I mean, you've known this gentleman for a long time. What's it like having to put up with him day after day, tour after tour?
Kyle is a jerk, but he is a great dude. Anybody watching this, any musician, you say Kyle's a jerk, they're going to laugh, but at the same time, they're going to love him. So he's a wealth of knowledge, a big brother in the game, and he's serious about his craft and he takes it serious. So everybody around him, he makes them go to his level, and if not, it's hard on you.
Well, awesome. Thank you, Jeremy. Kyle, how long have you known Jeremy?
Let's see. Jeremy walked up to me about, in 2006, 2007.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've known him since then. Well, I knew of him then. We became we became acquaintances. We became friends approximately 4 years later.
Mm-hmm.
And since then he's been my right hand. If I have an option to bring somebody on the road with me, as on the other side of the snake, he's my first choice. Sometimes you don't get the opportunity, but a lot of times, camps want you to be in that tandem situation with somebody who you trust on the other side. So, we're that 1-2 punch when it comes to somebody asking me if I want who would I want for monitors.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. Now, Jeremy, we were talking a little bit before we got started on this call, and you said that Kyle is the one who gave you a shot in this, really, and helped get you launch your career and get you started. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it was a place in my life where I really wanted to do a lot of stuff. Like, I knew what I wanted to do. I was working at a local sound company, working at a home theater store. I was trying to manage art, be a studio guy, front of house monitors, everything. And a few certain pieces. Hey, bro, you can't do everything. What do you do? It's one of them. And I would cold call people. I want to go on tour. I want to do this. And Kyle said, cool. Once we finally talked, he said, what do you do? I said, well, I mix monitors. I mix front of the house. I could do it. They said, no. What is it that you do? And I'm like, but I do all that. And he's like, no, bro. What do you do well? Like, what's your thing that you're going to stick to? And that's what happened. And then, he started asking me questions. What consoles do you know? Well, I know. Well, no, I need you to know all of them. And it was like, look, I'm gonna hit you back in a few months and you need to know this stuff. And then a few months we reconnected. And what do you know now? And he kind of saw my work ethic and saw me growing and would encourage me and tell me things. And then he was like, look, I have an opportunity. Are you ready? I'm ready. I'm ready. All right, look, don't mess me up. Don't mess my name up. If I put you out there, you got to be ready. And basically, that's literally what happened. And even around touring, he's like, what do you know? What are you doing? Okay, are you ready to go mix?
Oh, that's awesome. So you're saying both, he saw your determination, he saw your work ethic, but then he also helped focus you and help you pick your focus, I guess, maybe is another way to say that.
Yeah,
awesome.
For sure.
Kyle, tell us about how you got started in this industry.
Well, I got started. Basically, it was the same kind of scenario. My mom's husband at the time noticed that, I had a fairly good ear for music. I don't play any instruments, but, just always doing something musically as far as mixing or making, some kind of a mixtape or whatever. And so while my mom was in the hair industry, she was always doing, entertainers' hair at the studio or somewhere. So I would always see consoles. I'm a gadget head, first of all, so that always called me. So after all that, my mom introduced me to a guy named Anthony Jeffries, who is, I call my sensei from the beginning. He's under his wings. And while I was still in high school, I would go to the studio in the evening after work, doing my homework and everything, and just hang out with him. Falling in the session chairs. They have all kind of pictures of me making faces like, yeah, he's not ready for this. He can't hang. So basically, AJ, said, if you want to do this, you can. It's endless. Whatever you want, whatever you put into it is what you get out of it. So when he gave me the opportunity to just shadow him everywhere he went, I made it my best way to get there. If I had to figure it out, I did it. And it's the same way. You have to put in that work. And the problem that's I see right now is everybody wants it now. They don't want to put in that work. It isn't everything. And me learning from a person like AJ is priceless. You know, you can't pay for that.
No.
And you know, to be in the situations with a Layla Hathaway or Gerald Albright, you know, some of the greats, and just be in the studio just to absorb that energy and learning etiquette, which a lot of people fall short of now. You know, they just I could do this again, like Jeremy said, I could do everything. You can't do everything. What are you official at? And then lock that in, and everything else will come to you. But that was my pretty much beginning with that. AJ took me under his wing, and I grabbed the bull by the horns, and I didn't look back. You know, this is what I wanted to become. All my friends told me I would never make it in the industry. You better play football, damn music. It's not in the cards for you. And 27 years later, they're like, man, you really followed your dream, and you know, travel the world and do what you love. I literally haven't worked a day in my life. I love what I do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Very cool. Real quick, Kyle, I don't know if it's quite in the shot yet, but I have a note here that we're supposed to talk about your necklace. I don't know. don't know what's
the diamond fader, baby.
Too bad you can't zoom in.
What is that? What is that for everybody watching?
Let's see. This right here was my 40th birthday gift to myself, just to symbolize all the hard work that I've done in the industry. It's actually a fader from an SD7.
Okay.
So basically, the way I was able to, you know, get around high taxes is actually a functioning piece. So it's actually a piece that I could work with. So it's a tax write-off. So it's a diamond fader, you know, custom made. It was my gift. I've bust my ass, or I'm sorry if I can say that, bust my ass to work hard. And this is, you know, some of the fruits of my, you know, my labor. And at the end of the day, it's a nice little piece. It's not flashy. It's just real, you know, it's one of those pieces that you just look at like, oh, that's a classic piece. I've never seen anything like it. And it just symbolizes what I do in my career and what's been able to afford me to make sure my son can have the best life he can and become a successful young man.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Cool. All right. So let's kind of jump into both you and Jeremy. Obviously, you've done a number of tours together, known each other for a while. What's it like working with somebody you can trust, somebody you have that relationship with where you can keep going back? Jeremy, do you want to kind of start us off and just tell us what it's like being on the road with somebody that, you know, both you respect, but also you enjoy working with? And
Well, to be honest, it's everything. You know, as much as we're away and sacrificing time away from our family and the important things that we're missing in life, your road family becomes family. And everyone that tours has been on tours where they really don't fit in, or, you know, they're not that close with the person you have to be close with. It's kind of whack, right? So you always gravitate to a person. So to have somebody like Kyle, I mean, with his work ethic, and he's helped me understand that work ethic, we're there before everybody and we're there after everybody's gone. And when we tour around the world, you know, you get to a hotel, you fly all over, where you get to a city, what's the first thing you want to do? Eat. We go eat together and we talk, and we're not talking about work. We're talking about life. We're talking about his son and my son and wife and just, you know, what's going on in his life and what's going on in my life. And when you get to the gig, you know, think about a front of house and monitors thing. It's like it's I've been on both sides, so I get it, right? I'm over there. I got frequencies to worry about. I got the band coming in. Somebody was unhappy last night. I got this, that, and that. And Kyle's sitting out there twiddling his thumbs because the PA's tuned, and he's like, "Are we ready yet? Are we ready yet?" I'm like, bro, I got 7 million mixes, and you got one. But are we ready yet? Come on, man, kick. And I'm like, bro, just hold your horses. We'll get there. But it's like, and then when the band's around, they always laugh because we bicker and we talk crap all the time. But it's always fun. You know, after the show, Kyle walks from front of the house. He's the first person I see. You know, hey, man, how was it for you? Man, it was great tonight. How was it for you? Well, the room was a little weird or whatever, so it's that constant thing. We talk during the show, on SD7s, we have the video feature and the text chat going. So it's and we're not talking about, hey, you see that girl in the front. Whoa, we're talking about, hey man, his voice sounds like he's tired. Can you pull him back a little bit in his ears so he'll project? See what I'm saying? But it's a friendship, a relationship, a bond. And I trust that when the show starts, the audience is going to have a great time because Kyle's out there. And I would say that when the show starts, he trusts that the artist and the band's going to be able to hear at the best of their ability, not just hear, but feel. And then they'll give him what he needs. So it's a constant, I'm not fighting him. He's not fighting me. He'll call me and be like, bro, your side fills are too loud. Turn them down. I turn them down. It's not even a question. Or I'll say, hey man, high pass that mic a little more, or I'm getting a bounce back or something. And he's like, okay, cool. What we got to do? So it's constantly back and forth. And we're trying to give the artist and the audience the best possible experience they can have.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Kyle, you got anything to add to that?
First of all, we're never the first one in, nor the last one out.
Oh, okay, that's not true.
Those days are over with. We used to do that. That was many moons ago. We walked in at a decent time, and we're probably the first, very close to the first people out. But nonetheless,
I was really speaking about rehearsals, though. Think about rehearsals.
In rehearsal, yeah, that's a different story. But we the rehearsals aren't what really pay us. Is blessing these audiences around the world. So let's keep it real for our audiences. You can mess up my brand. I walk in, I walk out. No, no, but at the end of the day, he said it 100% right. Anything that can go wrong. I mean, we've had many situations that happened that the audience and anything went wrong, but that's why we have the clientele that we have, because they're paying us for peace of mind. And it's about troubleshooting without causing a hiccup or stoppage of the show. We have that pretty much down to science. A mic can go out and they won't even really know unless literally the person walks off stage. But we have ways of flipping mics and all that stuff, so it's almost seamless. It looked like it could be part of the show. We just have a lot of those fail safes that we put in within our own plan to keep it free flowing without any hiccups, unless we have a complete power failure and we can't do anything about that.
Nobody can.
Right, but just when everything boosts back up and we haven't blown up or anything, it's all good. But just know that he's on the other side of that snake, and vice versa. We have a method to our madness that translates very well, and the audience receives it real well as well.
It's awesome. It's awesome. All right, so let's actually talk about the gear a little bit. Obviously, Jeremy, as you mentioned before, and Kyle, I know just from your experience as well, both of you have mixed on a number of platforms over the years, but what are you guys currently on? What's your current go-to? And maybe, I don't know, pick one of your last tours you did together or something, and maybe we can just talk a little bit about the actual setup and how you do things in that. Kyle, you want to start us off?
Yeah, we I guess the current things Jeremy and I is affiliated with is the Usher situation before it's Coronication. But we're on SD7 Quantums. And we run it like anyone else would in theory. I mean, we have the optical loop and everything, but we run separate racks. We're not sharing anything. Also, we have a couple of we're using 2 orange boxes. I forget, because I know we have a lot going on. We have
I think right now it's 2.
We're using 2 orange boxes full. All of our playback is all MADI. So we're complete 0 analog parts going into the consoles. It's all a MADI stream. So we're just, running around doing that, and our setup is complex, but it's straight simple. We keep it real streamlined. At the end of the day, so if anything goes down, we have a redundant situation that we can keep it going. But and with the addition of the quantum side of the SD7, it just gives us more flexibility, especially on the side where I'm multi-track.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So multi-tracking, you do that at front of house?
That is correct.
Mm-hmm. Is that for virtual sound check or archiving, or for both?
It's for both. The virtual sound check it speaks volumes, because when and that also has taken away from me wearing Jeremy out talking about kick. I do it myself. I pretty much sound. Only thing I really need from them is just a line check. Other than that, building anything, trying to get stuff ironed out prior to, I just do my thing, and I'm pretty much always sound checked and done before he is. He says I don't do anything. Well, hey, I embrace it. I make it look like I'm not doing anything because of the way I prepare. He could be a little tardy, as you saw earlier today. So, with his slow motion abilities, I'm like, I'm out. I can't sit here and take this.
Wow. What's funny about that, Ryan, is we both multi-track all the time.
Okay. So do you run a separate computer to multi-track at monitors? Okay.
Yeah, we both do it because we take the artist's music very seriously, and not saying that anyone else doesn't, but we spend a lot of time with that. And like he said, instead of him wearing me out, or instead of me wearing the band or the singer out, with virtual sound check, I can go back and listen to last night's show and fix things at a loud, I've done it at a loud, noisy festival with hundreds of thousands of people. I could be under a tarp or somewhere in Monitor World with my console making the show better from last night. Kyle doesn't have to even be around. He could be asleep in a bus or at the hotel. And we do those things, like, situations where you work with an artist like with Pharrell, where he's done songs with every artist in the world, and we're in Brazil, and he did an artist with somebody in Brazil, and he's like, hey, this person's coming tonight. So I can go to the snapshot of that song, play it with the band, and dial in a mix with the actual stuff going on. And I'm bothering no one. No one hears it. I hit save and I'm ready to go.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very cool. All right, so Quantum 7s, you got a fiber loop. You're not sharing racks on maybe the last run or two that you've done. You guys mentioned that you actually have shared racks before, done some gain sharing. What's your philosophy or your thoughts on that? I mean, obviously, given a choice, we all love to have our own islands. But is there a time when you guys do that, time when you don't, and why should people consider it, or why should they not?
Well, we pretty much do that when it's a budget issue. I mean, today, I don't pay for any of this. So they say, you got to do it this way, or you got to use a lesser piece of equipment. Then, hey, we're sharing. It just takes a little more time to just reprogram some stuff that we need to do. But again, we're paid to turn knobs, and give the artist, that sense of security. So, my preference is to be on my own island, but sometimes we have to, share an island. And it's just what it is. I know he's not going to do anything silly. Like, he's not going to fire a snapshot that's going to throw my whole gain structure off. And again, and if he were, we cash that in the rehearsal, because we run it, and because there's a lot of little quirks that can happen. I've worn him out a few times, and so when we're rebuilding, so they're like, "God, you just changed my scene." Oh, well, I guess you weren't ready. But again, we are all those technical that could be a showstopper only happen in rehearsals, or in some kind of a rehearsal fashion. I've never done a show with him where we're sharing any kind of racks where I fire something and torn him up in a show. I've seen that happen to a lot of people in show situations. I've seen a lot of people get fired as a result of it. And that happens because one of two things. Either you half know what you're doing, and you order all this stuff and don't really know how to use it. You just see a lot of people, he's on an SD7, he's on a Quantum, he's on this, he's on that. And I just want to be in the club, but don't understand the machinery. You got to do your homework, because these consoles, as user friendly as they aren't in the same breath. And they give you a lot of horsepower and a lot of options that you can do with them if you know what you're doing. Or first of all, you have to have a thought pattern and a mental roadmap of what you're trying to accomplish. You want to go from here to here. If you just come there with a blanket template, don't really know what you're doing, but I know we could do this, but what is we? What are you trying to do? And then you get on a loop. A young kid that I know, he got put in the fire and got sent home real quick. And prior to going out, don't let the client tell you what you're going to mix on. If you're not comfortable on said console, then you're the one behind it. You're going to get sent home. And sure enough, a week and a half later, he got sent to the house because he did stuff that he didn't necessarily know or took the time to learn. That's why when I was talking about him earlier, I said, learn everything. There's things you're going to forget because you're not using them regularly. But if you have a foundation, I may forget something on the desk because I don't use it every day. But I have I want to do this. How do I get to that position on the desk? Because everything at the end of the day, consoles are pretty much all the same. It's just the layout and how the console, your different pages you have to page through. You get to it, especially on the full frame desk. But, I'll say all that to say you have to have an understanding of what you're doing so you don't make catastrophic accidents on during a show. And the thing, like I said, I've worn him out plenty of times in rehearsals because I'm flipping a session or I'm doing something that I hadn't thought about what I was doing. And he's like, yo, you wear me out again. I'm like, oh, yeah, you need to be. You were late.
Jeremy, how do you put up with this guy?
I just it's hard. No, but sharing let's kind of briefly say this. One thing about Kyle and I is we ain't scared. Yeah. We always try to push the envelope in technology. What makes our job easier? What tools can we do? So, and one thing about us, we're very hands-on. I've done all the roles. I've been the snake guy, I've patched, I've been a system tech, monitor tech, front of house, whatever. So I know the aspect of having a white glove engineer where you have to know everything and they ask you every question. Oh, what just happened? Well, sir, that happened. Oh, so when I'm a mixer, and we talk about this all the time. We never want techs to know more than us. So I could probably come to DiGiCo and work as a tech to help people because I've seen every single thing that could go right or go wrong happen. And when it happens, I don't give the tech the phone to tech support. I'm on the phone and the tech's next to me because I'm the one driving the ship. And I have to know at every step what's going to happen. If this happens, what's my counteract or whatever. So that's why we push the envelope. But Waves or DiGiCo and sharing racks, gain sharing, clocking, Maddie splits, giving a Maddie split to a truck, sample rate conversion. We have been through it and we know it.
Awesome.
So there's some definitely like real amazing pros to sharing, i.e. the video feature, the text feature. It's cleaner because there's no splitter involved. You gain more headroom out of your inputs. Because there's no splitter. When we're having sound check, I can say, got it. And I know Kyle has it. It's not like, oh, it's buzzing on my end of the snake and not yours. Or, reseat to this. So we've been through that. And actually, when we had to do it, we fought it. But then when we did it, it was very pleasant. And we trust each other. As long as my gains weren't too soft for Kyle, as he would say.
You have a lot of soft input. Can I get an amber light? He's all green. It's real emotional. I need some amber.
Need a little anger coming out of your console, out of your mic pre anyway.
But like Jeremy says, I make a lot of my system engineers end up bored to death. I remember one in particular, and if he's out here, if he's watching here, remember this. He said, I have literally watched everything on the internet. There's nothing for me to go through from A to Z. There's nothing else to go through on the internet. And just doing a rehearsal, I'm like, he's like, is there anything I could do? I said, yeah, you can go sit down. I'm good. I don't need, again, that knowing every aspect of how your desk is patched and what's going on now. If the desk has a complete systems failure, I'm walking away. Yo, it's done. It's a wrap. But anything short of patching or routing, I do all that myself. It throws me off when I see guys step back and let the systems engineer do all the patching for them, do all the routing. I mean, hell, sometimes they even building mixes for them. It's like at the end of the day, you might as well give them your check because you out here getting free money.
Yeah.
If something goes wrong, they fixing it, not you. And you should be you should be the one fixing the problem.
That's awesome. I think that is a great goal for all of those who are just new to this industry, who are coming along and growing up in it. Obviously what a tough time to get your start in the industry, but nothing is perfect, right? So just continue to hang in there and work hard. But the goal that the view they may have had of arriving, of being the white glove engineer, would have been stepping back and letting somebody else do all the work. And you guys are both saying, no, never stop learning, never stop, figuring out how things work, and being hands-on, no matter what level you're at.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. We actually have a question. Kyle was popping up a couple of comments, people who definitely agree with everything you're saying. But Zeke Luna had a question. He said, hi, Kyle and Jeremy. You both have worked with legacy artists and current younger artists. Has there been a particular artist that opened your eyes or to say taught you something that really helped or changed how you do things?
The only artist that made me open my eyes and change anything would be the man, that purple man, Prince. When I went, as I call it, the P University, the Purple University. He literally made you change everything you could have learned about audio, and you do it his way, the purple way, regardless how far left thought pattern it was. He was a genius in respects, and in other respects, I was like, yo, I look at him like, yo, you tripping. What you asked me makes no damn sense. But what he taught me was, you know what? I'm gonna give you anything you ask for. I'm gonna let you say it doesn't work, because even though you paying me to tell you that it doesn't work, you don't want to hear me tell you it doesn't work or it can't. So I'm gonna let it fail, and then let you give all the options, let you try everything you want to do, and let it go. Let them say, so Kyle, what do you think? Well, now that you ask me, you feel like they came up with the thought pattern from the beginning when you were like, no. Yeah. And, but certain artists, and in the same respect, a lot of people, yes, artists. I'm not thinking that. No, it's not gonna work. Look, if you don't like my opinion, send me home. You're paying me to give you the professional opinion, the professional advice. So I don't tiptoe around artists. When you got all these cats running around here, hip cupping the microphone, hip hopping it, I'm like, yo, you sound like a kazoo. You sound terrible. I can't fix that. What you putting into that is completely not fixable. Well, it looks you sound terrible. Yep. You grab the mic in the studio, and then they start thinking, and then well, why are you talking to them so aggressive? Because you're aggressively wearing me out when you sound like that at 100 plus dB. I get at them, but if nothing else, they respect me for that. I'm not going to say, oh yeah, you'll be fine. No, you won't. You sound terrible. Yeah. So, but dealing with Prince, he like the one issue that I had with him, which was like a crazy one per se, he put a 13-piece horn section at front of house directly behind me. And with nothing in between. And I'm telling them when they brought it up to me, I was like, well, no, we can't do that. That's going to be terrible for me and whoever else is around there. I have PA coming at me this way, and then 13-piece horn section behind me. So and they put them on a 1-foot riser, so their bells of their horns were directly at ear level for me.
Oh my goodness!
And I lost it.
Yeah.
Story short, we parted ways. You know, I was good, but the thing of it is, they called me back multiple times thereafter. And they said, you can't talk to him like that. I'm like, you know, he a man. I'm gonna talk to another man the way I want to. You know, that's stupid is stupid. You can't put horns in somebody's ear and say, how come it doesn't sound right? You know, it fell apart then, and I got called back, and I declined. But you know, everything isn't for you. I learned a lot from him, and I could never take back that experience. Yeah. But I'm like, you know what? I'm good. I appreciate calling me back, but you know, I'm good.
Well, and you know, honestly, mixing for somebody like that, what an honor to begin with. But two, learning and, like you said, having your mind open to just trying things. I mean, like you said, 99% of the time know that it's not going to work going into it. But they are a creative, they are an artist, and a lot of times they need to go through that process, and then they ask you for your opinion, or they ask you why it's not working, and you can explain to them. That's awesome. Jeremy, I am going to ask you the same question as well, just if you have something, some artist that has shown you something, but really quick, you played in the world-renowned Human Jukebox Marching Band. I forgot to ask you, what instrument do you play?
I played drums, bass drum in the marching band.
Awesome. Cool. It must have been a lot of fun doing all those moves, carrying a bass drum around, I got to say.
Yeah, I think I have back issues today because of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, if anybody's not familiar, definitely go to YouTube and check it out. You'll be impressed. So, Jeremy, what about you? Is there an artist that showed you something, opened up your eyes? Obviously, as monitors, typically, then they're directly talking to you all the time, asking you for everything that enters their brain. What do you think?
I'll just say Prince as well, because if you've ever worked for Prince, you learned, period. And if you didn't learn, it's not that you learn what to do or what not to do. You just learned a different way, and you learn how to make it work, or else you were at the house. So that's one thing. But Pharrell really, working for Pharrell really changed everything that I do and the way I approach mixing monitors. Pharrell is a producer, as we know, right? So he cares not.
Quite a talented one. Yes.
Right. And he's produced hit records, right? All over the world. But usually so think about mixing monitors on an analog console and with wedges, where a lot of us came from, right? So, you know, you can't really make monitors sound exactly like someone's record, per se. You know, most monitor engineers are going to try to put as least things in a monitor as possible, turn it up, and hopefully, not hopefully, but make sure it doesn't feed back, right? But when I started mixing in-ears and I started understanding stereo imaging and space, it really opened me up to a lot. But when I got to Pharrell will straight ask you, did you listen to my record? Period. He he has a live band and all this, but he wants to hear his genius that he produced. He doesn't need your genius on top of it trying to reinvent what he already made a hit record. And
is that what he's wanting in his mix?
For sure.
Yeah.
He does not want to hear keys all the way up here and not in the blend, and he doesn't want to hear a live snare if it's a clap on the record. And so that I never really multi-tracked all the time before. Every now and then I'd multi-track a show just for archiving purposes, right? With Pharrell, I multi-track every day. Why do I do that? Because I need that time to make it the record and write a snapshot for drop it like it's hot.
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe the snare is panned to the left, maybe there's a little reverb, maybe we're using a trigger, maybe the background vocals are louder or whatever. But when he puts his ears on, he hears our live version as close to the record as I can get it.
Mm-hmm.
And that changed my whole life. Now, I understand guys doing that at front of house.
Mm-hmm.
But he's the first artist that I had to do it with in monitors, and it changed my approach completely.
Awesome. So did you bring what you learned there to other artists?
Oh,
and,
for sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Because what I basically did, to be honest, I watched what Kyle was doing at front of house and how meticulous he was. Kyle would get there in the morning after working a whole day, get there. Okay, so they set a call time. He's like, let's come in before that. I'm like, wait, no, why? Come in at the call. No, we got work to do. I'm like, you got work to do. But it changed my approach because he would listen to his multi-track, he would listen to his record, then we would go sit in his truck and listen to his mix, and then listen to the record. And then he'd be like, it don't feel right. Let me go fix it. And I was like, So I started doing it monitors. Dude, we'd be in a room, you know, I'll be in my ears and he may be in headphones or his ears, or maybe he's in his near fields, but we're working for hours and hours and hours before the band ever gets there, before the artist ever gets there. And when Pharrell walks in, he doesn't have any criticism. Maybe that just turn my mic up or down. He's not going to say, hey, I don't hear this or I don't hear that. And I'm telling you, he will ask you, did you listen to the record? Did you listen to it at all? If you're not spot on.
That's awesome. I mean, what a great lesson to learn, and honestly changing perspective on how you do mixes. That is cool. Real quick, Jonathan Grimes shot back a comment, Jeremy. He says, back issues from marching band and not from ground stacking 4888s. So
the marching band was first. And if you go look at any of those videos, if you take a bass drum this big and this wide and you're marching and you throw it up over your head and you twist and spin and go back, when you're young, it feels okay, but close you get to 40.
You start feeling that one, huh? Awesome. Let's see here. Okay, so we had a couple more questions. Actually, quite a few good questions. So let's see if we can get through these. Ricky Ashford, hey Ricky, said, explain how you achieve getting depth, width, cleanliness, and impact with 120 odd inputs and make it sound like everything is heard. He also throws in the comment, hope to see you on the road again. So I'm assuming that's to our friend Kyle. Kyle, what's the magic, man? How do you make all that happen?
It literally is about space, you know. And I always say this: balance. Literally, is balance. You know, it begins literally with Pro Tools. If your Pro Tools is all over the place, and we run a lot of outputs, a lot more than the average group would normally. You know, we have a high count, so that gives us the opportunity to let those buses breathe. You know, you're not oversaturating the buses. You're not, all the little meticulous nuances that signature sound that makes, oh, that's my record. It's not buried within a stem. And so it especially on heavy sequence shows, like heavy Pro Tools heavy shows, you have to balance that out, because what translates in the studio on your record doesn't always translate in an arena or a stadium.
Sure. Yeah.
So just because it's a mastered stem, I don't care if it's mastered or not. We got to break that stem down and unmaster it and make it applicable for our environment. So it boils down to that first. You get your Pro Tools and all that stuff balanced out, like I always talk about. And so everything has its own space and not just sound like you just have just a bunch of noise coming at you. Pro Tools right, then your band fits in right part of that. You know, a lot of times you see bands, you know, you have the entire record in there, drums and everything. Then the band is playing the same stuff, triggers and all. And like, you can't have kick trigger, kick, and then a full master kick, snare and everything in the track. You have to take that out. So if he's playing the same trigger pattern, take it out. You know, you have to let the box breathe. You know, if there's things that the band is playing and the Pro Tools is playing, whoever plays it better, it's precedent. So, you know, you have to let it breathe, or else you can't have 5 kicks and say, you know, I can't hear that kick. It's like a cake. You don't taste the egg in the cake. It all comes together, you know. So if you don't balance out your Pro Tools first, it begins there. And if that's terrible and all over the place, nothing else is going to breathe because there's not going to be any space. Or you have filled up that sine wave.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, if you're essentially having to be the producer when you're getting all or multiples of the same type of signal source that are stepping on the same frequency ranges or a time domain, whatever they're hitting on top of each other. Yeah, you have to make sure what the artist wants represented is the one that's getting out there. Because,
one of the craziest comments that happened, like with background singers. So you have a Pro Tools session where the background stems comes from about 30 voices at least. You have a background singer that's whispering, saying, how come you can't hear me? Well, first of all, I shouldn't hear you because you're a mix. You're a blend of a background part. And if you sing the same thing verbatim, what 30 other voices are doing, you're just part of that blend, unless you're doing something that stands out. So it's like, look, you in there, but how come I don't hear me? You're never going to hear me. You're going to hear the overall, the blend, the mix, you know, and when drummers, I can't hear that kick or I can't hear that snare. Well, you're playing acoustic kick and you have a trigger or 808 kick. Your acoustic kick is never going to outshine that trigger kick or that pro kick. Nothing else. When you're hitting your kick pattern, it all locks up for the video look. But sonically, it can't compete. So it's one or the other. And the people get it, but it takes a second to make them understand. Look, you're all fighting for the same space. You're fighting for the same space, playing the same situation. Some's not going to get hurt. So might as well just take it out so that you can shine, since it's a live performance. Yeah.
No, that makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense. Hey, can you give us an idea of how many inputs you're dealing with from Pro Tools? Just a range. You don't have to. And I'm sure it's varied across the different tours and the different artists you work with, but
at any time I could run 32 channels of Pro Tools.
Okay. Yeah. And you, like you said, you're asking for those stems to be broken out a lot of times, right? So you can get the.
I don't really like stems. I prefer there's certain things, but that are like in a comp per se. But I like to spread it out so it breathes. So I can, and then I know the records so that I can accentuate those little nuances when they show up. It's not just right there and let it, push all the faders at 0 and let it mix itself. Nah, I'm moving stuff throughout the entire song.
That is awesome. All right, real quick follow-up question. Actually, no, completely different train of thought, but it's definitely worth getting in here. Amanda Davis, who's actually been one of our guests, was asking for both of you, what advice do you have for us up-and-coming engineers to build clientele? So this is complete shift of thought here, but I think you guys, both of you, could share a lot of information and wisdom there for the younger engineers.
Well, for me, every time you do a show, you're auditioning for your next client. Every show has an expiration date. Every gig has an expiration date. So all of my clientele comes from people watching my shows. I don't really go on soliciting anyone, but you have artists come to everybody's, and they're all friends. Hang out at front of house. Yo, your front of house had it smacking. Can I get the information? There you go. Next client on the horizon. So, even with band members, you out there auditioning for your next client. So it look like you're having fun on stage. You could be miserable, but don't play like you're being miserable, Have a groove going on, enjoy the music, because you have 20,000 people out there, and then whoever knows however many more is watching a live stream, And out of all those 20,000, if 3 people call you, you've got new clientele.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Jeremy?
New clientele. Meet people. Meet people, get to know people. Build genuine relationships that will last past one gig. If you get one gig and you don't speak to anyone or talk to one, why would someone call you for another gig? They don't even know you. Sit down with people, go out on days off, talk to people. And I'm not saying from a fake fraud standpoint, just because you're trying to get some money. Be a cool person. Have integrity. Let your word mean something. You know, be likable, because, you know, you always, like, I saw a picture the other day of somebody that's a top production manager now, and someone posted a picture when they were a carpenter, and I didn't even, I'm like, oh wow. But how do people know you? Like, when I was a babe in the business, some of those OGs I work with now, or I hire them now, but we have genuine relationships and we talk. That's how the music business works, is relationships. The people that I worked with when I was with Rascal Flatts, you know, they're all doing big stuff now. When I was running Snakes, but you have to gain their trust and respect more than anything. And once you do that, you will grow in this business. You can even go to a different, like, you know, there's guys that started off, you know, you hear people say, oh, I started off doing sound, but now I'm a lighting guy, or I'm a designer, or I'm a this or that. Those same people remember you from those same tours or that one gig, or, you know, people remember me when I travel around the world. When I go to Africa, they're like, oh, hey, that's you. Oh, remember that time we did that one gig? Because the other side of it, when you're a jerk or a butthole, they're going to remember that too.
They do.
And do. They're not gonna want to see you again. Or if somebody says, "Hey, we're thinking about hiring Amanda," nah, man, I wouldn't hire Amanda. We did this one gig and she had a bad attitude. There goes your job.
Well, I mean, that's a bad example, because we both know that Amanda, of course, has a great attitude, but I get what you're saying, right?
Not all the time. I'm just playing. I just play. She's great. She's great.
She is. What were you going to say there, Kyle? I interrupted you.
Matt has a lot of money. She's chilling. She's taking over as one of the premier women engineers out there, and in a pretty much male-dominated world as far as front of house engineers. Period. You know, Amanda is killing the game at front of house. You know, she's out there rocking out, you know, keeping that, you know, that girl power going hard in the paint. And, and, you know, I talked to her a lot about, you know, getting her console weight up. So she finally, you know, she fought it for me. She said, it's not in the budget. I'm like, look, everything is in the budget. Figure it out. Use a lesser desk, but use a better brand that gives you the tools that you need. And, you know, she fought it, but, you know, now she's doing her thing, and, you know, I'm proud of her.
That's awesome. No, we had a really great time getting to spend some time interviewing her as well. What were you going to say, Jeremy?
She's gardening. She's amazing. She's over there building her own cucumbers.
Oh, that's awesome. All right, we have another question from Spencer Elliott to both of you. It says, can you answer how your earlier church experience led you to go the way you did professionally? And then he asks also, how does this transpose in your day-to-day?
Well,
I'll start. Go ahead, Kyle.
Well, for me, since Jeremy's going to have jokes about my church days, first of all, those days when I did gospel plays and everything, if nothing else, it held me home in on frequencies. You know, at this stage of the game, feedback is unacceptable. And it's not just, you know, again, it's about balance. You don't have to chop everything out of a EQ spectrum. You get what's causing the problem. Therefore, you get rid of that, and then you still have a full range, nice, full sounding system, PA or speaker for that matter. So the church world, not even church, but the gospel play world that I did, it just gave me the time to make mistakes that weren't on even though plays are more forgiving because you got a whole bunch of people in proximity. So it's like, even though I still didn't like to have, I hate feedback. Some people don't care about it. Feedback is against my religion.
Yes.
Church, per se. You know, it gave me my stomping grounds to learn how to pick out frequencies and tune my ears to know exactly what I need to go to when I hear it. So that's what that did for me then, and that's what it did for me in my current world, where I can hear something about to take off and handle it before it screeches and wears somebody out.
All right. Jeremy?
To be honest, for me, church was really, really big for me. It's everything I knew growing up. I spent the majority of my life, my younger years, in church. My dad was a musician. We had a studio at home. So I was always patching stuff and going to gigs with him and going to churches and tearing down and setting up. And that was really my start. And then playing drums, it taught me about rehearsal and studying music and listening to music to learn it. But everything I do, honestly, goes back to my church upbringing. And I'm going to say this, and I don't know if a lot of people speak on this, and I never hear engineers do, but a lot of artists, Brian McKnight pulled me aside when I first started with him and said, man, where are you from? Because something's different about you. Like you hear music differently. But for me, music is all spiritual to me. I'm going to be honest with you. And when I say that is music to me is all about feeling. What does that note? What does that tempo? What is that rhythm? What is that sound? How does it make you feel? And that's how I mix. And if I can't feel the music, I don't want to do it. If I can't feel it, like if I could feel it, I'll go a million light years ahead to make it great. But if I can't feel it within my soul, within my spirit, if it doesn't touch me, it's hard for me to do it. If I'm not moving and grooving, it's hard. And all that comes from church for me. Literally, it all comes from church. And then growing up in a black church, all the different genres that happen I grew up playing drums, so it wasn't, weird for a group at a musical to show up and they don't have a drummer. And now you got to learn a song on the spot. So your repertoire becomes way bigger. And then the genres, there's no specific genre in the black church. It's blues, it's country, it's rock, it's R&B, it's jazz, it's hip hop. So having all that come to you as a baby, as a child, and hearing it and growing around it and hearing it and growing around it, it just pours right back into my everyday workflow, literally. Yeah.
So a little bit important is what you're saying.
Church they do run long, so that shows why you always late.
You gotta be fashionably late when you come to church. As a musician, you gotta come in a little. You gotta make sure they need you.
Oh goodness! All right. Okay. So a couple of things. Kyle, for you, we were talking a little bit before we got started on all this, and you were talking about you have a little bit of an unorthodox workflow. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it kind of came to be? What exactly is your unorthodox workflow, if you can sum it up easily for us? And then just, any advice you may have on for engineers developing their own workflows.
Actually, the funny thing is, Jeremy was hovering over me a few times. He was like, Kyle, you always add all that pretty shit to everything. I can't do that. And so actually the best person to try to explain that would probably be Jeremy, because he's the closest person I've ever let get to my workflow. And even though he kind of gets it, he still doesn't get it. So I'll let him try to explain that to you because it's actually kind of funny. Because again, it's backwards. It's straightforward for me, but from people who come from the traditional way of or through the sound company route and everything else, my world, the way I think, it doesn't translate to him. But when he listens to it, like, yo, I see what you did. So I think Jeremy could be the best one to handle that question.
All right, Jeremy, Buck is getting past you. What's weird about Kyle's? What's weird about his workflow?
Everything. But what I've noticed though is he takes everything he's ever done and he puts it into a gumbo, right? A big old pot, and he keeps adding to that. And his eye and ear is always what I would say to the street, meaning to the knowledge, to the information. Studying music. So I've never seen an engineer in my entire career, an engineer or a musician study music more than Kyle. Period. That's the first step. When we get a call for an artist, Kyle's like, okay, cool. He'll go listen to their whole catalog. First of all, he'll go buy it and then he'll go listen to it.
Well, I'm sorry. What is this? Buying music? I don't understand. No.
Well, he gets mad at me. He gets mad at me all the time because he says I rent it. No, but he really does.
He does. So he grabs the whole catalog.
And he'll just study and study and study. And I've seen Kyle in a rehearsal tell a band, "Hey, man, aren't you supposed to play this?" And they go, "Wait a minute. How do you even know that?" And they're and they don't get mad at him because he's not trying to play it. He's not trying to shoot at him. They're like, "Bro, you really know this music?" And he's like, I do. And then his approach, like the whole game structure thing. We have a saying now, but it came from him. He's like, leave no bits on the table. The signal to noise ratio. Give me all the meat, give me all the signal, and let this amazing console work. Instead, like Kyle is not the old traditional set your fader to zero guy. Bro, if you look at his faders, if you look at his gains, you'll just be sitting there like,
does this guy know what he's doing? But he obviously does.
Hear it. Like I've heard a million people hear one of Kyle's mixes and say, "Is that live?" I've said it myself. I'm like, bro. And he's like, yeah. And then you're just hearing all the sheen and the clarity, and you're like, bro. Like it makes me mad a lot of times when I hear his mix because I want to punch him in the face. Because I'm like, bro, that's hard to achieve. Like, you know, how don't you have all that noise coming from this? Or how do you get this to pop or crack? And then I look at his EQs and I'm like, now what's harder for me is the reason why I always hate his console is because when you're on stage, you can't do all the stuff that Kyle has the ability to do. I can't gate stuff as hard. I can't add all that pretty stuff, you know. I just can't do it, but he can, and he achieves at a great. I mean, he achieves a great thing with it, but it's very, very, very unorthodox. He's really quirky, and he just stays in his own lane. He doesn't try, like, even if he sees somebody else's desk or whatever, he doesn't try to emulate it. He just does what he does, and people like it.
That's awesome. All right. Amanda is now asking, what's the pretty stuff? So I think she wants to know. She wants to know what the pretty stuff is in the mix. So she's not letting it go. She's not letting it go, Kyle. You're going to have to tell her.
Here's a funny thing. Amanda and I, we don't talk all the time, but we've talked enough. So she's had one-on-one for the pretty stuff. And but, you know, for all intents and purposes, you know, 9 times out of 10, when you listen to somebody's board mix, it sounds like it just sounds dark. It has, no definition. That's because the PA is doing all the work. So me personally, I do the reverse. I darken the PA and I make the console do all the work. So the room sounds good. My 2 mix sounds good because I'm dealing with Pharrell and dealing with Prince, but mainly Pharrell. He needs it to sound like his record. So if he listened to his 2 mix and it sounds like you have tape over all your tweeters, he's gonna cut you out because there's no sheen. You can't hear stuff moving around. So you have to make your show sound like a record consistently, from the audience to the rehearsal to his dressing room to his truck. So that's why I listen to stuff in my truck. Old school stuff in the studio. You do a mix, it sounds great in the studio, but you take it to your car and it's missing a whole bunch of stuff because the studio, you got 18s all over the place and it's banging out. You take it to your car that has 6x9 and you have no bottom.
Yeah.
Same situation in the show. You got all subs everywhere. You got massive PA. Then you play your record, your 2 mix, and it sounds paper thin. And the arena is smacking. So I turn a lot of stuff down. 0 doesn't mean, damn 0. It's 0 what you make it. So I turn everything down and I make the desk do all the work. You look at my PA bus, it's like, yo, you need to turn all that up. You're not sending me anything. Yeah, I'm not sending you anything now, but wait till we get to show level. Like, that's why I say the systems engineer, when he gets his thing going, and I've said to him, look, make sure you're good. If you give me a flat PA, don't worry what I do after the fact. If you're 100% solid, because when you come back to it, you're going to look like I'm not giving the PA anything, but I'm giving it all it needs so that everything translates. My 2 mix translates, the arena translates, the dressing room translates. It's not just, it sounds great in one environment. It needs to sound great in every environment, like a record. So that's the studio world that I bring to the live act. So that's one of my little tricks. But again, I don't have a problem showing people what I do, but the way people are wired, they can't digest it. And Jeremy has seen my stuff millions of times. He's even had to cover some shows for me using my file, and he's like, yo, if I didn't understand what you were doing, this PA would be all over the place. Yeah, because I'm making the desk work, not the PA.
So just to recap real quick, you are asking your tech to give you a flat PA for the most part. Obviously, correcting for other things that are going on. And then you're doing the shaping, you're doing the mixing from the desk. So Jeremy.
What I would do is I do darken the PA. He may give it flat, but I may bring the high end down. Whatever frequency I choose on any given day, just kill all that because I'm gonna add it back in the desk. And that's most of the time. Then and even with the low end, okay, you good with your subs? I'm gonna change the whole structure, what they look like, because the desk has to be thick. When the desk is thick and everything else is right, because you can listen to shows at the console, you barely hear any bass guitar in the mix, but it's blaring in the arena. So you're gonna have no bass. So you have. You saw again, it's about the balance. So it's not just having the PA at full throttle and letting the PA do all the work. You got to make the desk work.
I had the opportunity to sit down with an engineer. He's probably not watching. Those of you on the West Coast probably know him, but Gordy is what he goes by, but Gordon Reddy. And I sat with him for a couple of hours at a festival one time, and he explained the same concept to me. That is an incredibly powerful one when you actually understand it. But it's a weird departure, I would say, for a lot of us traditional front of house live sound guys, because we are used to letting the PA do the work. Jeremy, I would guess, looking at Kyle's file, he probably has a lot of high shelves and some boosts and some stuff going on where us traditional, being a live sound guy, we would never do that stuff, right? You never boost a high frequency, but no. Yeah. Cool.
But let me tell you what's weird about Kyle. I just want to say this, that people that know us know that we really have real weird quirks, right? I'm sure that people hate us at times because we are really strict on what we do, and we don't move. We're like, nope, nope, nope. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. No, but we're protected. Shut up. We're protecting the artists, right? So, if you've ever heard a broadcast mix from one of the artists that Kyle's worked for, 9 times out of 10, that mix is coming from his desk, not the truck. Now, I'm sure most front of house engineers are like, what? How do they even let you do that? They don't let you. You tell them. And now, if your mix sucks, and you don't have the confidence, because I've heard front of house guys say for years, oh, you can't listen to the board mix because it doesn't translate to what was in the house. You would have to be in the house. And after working with Kyle for years, I'm like, ha ha ha, BS. Because if they go in the house, it's jamming. If Kyle gives them a board mix, he's giving them the board mix in confidence, not going, well, let me remix it first. No. And he gives the broadcast truck. They say, excuse me, sir, we're here to get the split for the broadcast truck. I'm like, did you talk to Kyle? We don't do splits. Well, what do you mean? You hear the guy in the truck. What do you mean? I need a split. Kyle says, no, sir, you're going to get a 2 mix from front of house. Well, okay. And then they hear the 2 mix, and then they come and give him a pat on the back after and be like, bro, your mix was better than anything I could have did. And then that goes across to millions of people from his console. And any engineer knows you got to have a lot of balls to even try that. You got to know that your mix will translate on anything.
Awesome. All right, we're going to have to start wrapping this up, gentlemen. Really enjoyed this. We do have one last question here. Yes. Justin Walker asked, he says, Kyle's first piece of wisdom to me was to be aware of what the artists go through mentally to prepare for a show. Jeremy, as a monitor engineer, how do you make the artists feel comfortable before any of the music starts?
I study them. So I know, and I ask a lot of questions. So everything I do is about knowing people. I am the 5th member of the band per se, right? So the band trusts me, I trust them, and I'm there and whatever. And so I do the things like, okay, is this artist a powerful singer? Are they a quiet singer? I'm not going to go get like a KSM9 type microphone if the band's loud and it's noisy and then the artists don't put nothing into the mic. I need something that rejects and blah, 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 blah. What am I doing on the console, right? So like Brian McKnight, he's a musician. He's playing and singing. Pharrell is a producer. He's singing, but he's more of a producer than he is an artist. You know, Stevie Wonder or this powerhouse vocalist, you know, because of church and I grew up as a musician, I think about pitch and key. What can I do to make them stay on pitch? What can I do to help them with timing? I talk to them. I go in their dressing room. I don't work for an artist and just get there and never meet them, or I can't talk to them. That's one of the issues I had with Prince. I want to go talk to him. Oh, you can't talk to him till he wants to talk to you. What? Like, no, I got to go talk to him because I got to work for him. I have a conversation with him before. I ask him, because honestly, it's crazy to say this, but me and Kyle get called to clean up a lot of situations where people were really making messed up mistakes, right? They're making it bad for the art. So when I come in, I'm not using nobody else's file. You got fired because of that. No, I go say, hey, what were your issues before? Oh, well, this is okay. That's the first thing I'm going to fix. I'm not going to start off where the other guy left off. No, I'm going to start with me, and I'm going to do my thing. I'm not going to come into a situation where you guys are doing things that I would consider to be wrong. No, I'm going to come in and stand hard on what I believe and try to fix the problems. But I talk to the managers. I talk to the wardrobe people. I talk to the assistants. I mean, I would look at Pharrell's assistant and say, "Hey, you guys were in the studio all night, huh?" She's like, "How do you know that?" I was like, "I can hear it in his voice." I'm the closest one to them. They're about to walk on stage for the Grammys and their hair is out of place. I'm going to say, "Hey, man, let me help you out." I'm getting them dressed, male or female. I'm getting them dressed. When we worked for the artist Talia, literally they had to put the quick change booth next to Monitor World so I could go in there in the middle of songs and help her change. Whatever it takes, it takes. Do I need to give you coffee? Do I need to hold your jacket? What do you need from me to make sure that you are comfortable? Know my name. Give them a talkback mic, like something. We got to talk and we got to have rapport constantly. That's the way. Seriously.
Awesome. All right, gentlemen. Last question I always ask. For the engineers, and they may not be engineers at this point, they may be running snakes, they may be plugging in cables, cleaning snakes in a shop. What advice do you have for the young men and women getting into this industry? And what if you could sit them down, talk to them, they're there with you, what would you tell them as they move forward in this industry and pursue this career?
Well, for me, it goes back to this. I always say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Stay in position where you're constantly learning, you're constantly soaking up knowledge, being around people who can help you ascend. So when you get that call, you can grab the bull by the horns and never look back. What desk do you know? I know this, and this. You have rapport. Do your homework first. So and stay keeping your head on the swivel. Even for me, and I'm 27 years in. I'm constantly evolving. I don't mix the same way I did when I first started. I don't mix the same way this year that I mixed last year. Why? Because technology changes. So since technology changes, I don't wait till I get out on the road to say, "Hey, I want to learn this now." I'm learning. Prime example, we're in the COVID coronation. We haven't done anything for a minute. So now this is the perfect opportunity to be homing in on some of your skills if you were kind of lacking on. So now when you come back out on the road and somebody asks you, "Yo, man, Kyle, can you do X, Y, Z?" Funny you say that. I've been doing that quite a bit since I've been home, since I don't normally do that. I sure can. Now I've just got myself another stream that I could be doing on the road that can even give me some more financial security, So it's always about evolving and keeping yourself ahead of the curve. It's always being proactive instead of reactive. Like I told Jeremy when he got going, when you get that call, you don't know when it's going to come. Just be ready. And that's what I tell the new guys coming up, the new guys and gals coming up in this game, because stuff changes like the wind. And if you're not ready, then you're going to get. And what I said about is being punctual. Answer your phone. Because if you miss a phone call, they've called. They're the line of people. If you miss a call, get back in a timely fashion. They've already made 10 other calls, and that next person in line is going to take your gig. Always be accessible. Never be unless you just I'm good, but you have to be in pocket.
Awesome, great advice, Jeremy. What do you want to leave all the up and coming engineers with?
This goes in life and in anything you do in business. My band director in college used to always tell us, "To thine own self be true." So you got to know who you are and what you are. You got to know what you know well and what you don't know. The things you don't know well, go figure it out. Nobody wants excuses. Call me, call Kyle, go to your local sound company, go to a show and ask the guy, be a stagehand, be whatever. Do whatever you have to do to get the knowledge, because it's out there. There's YouTube, there's, all this stuff. Go get it. The other thing is, you gotta do what you gotta do before you can do what you want to do. So if you want to be a big time front of house guy, big monitor guy, go get a gig that's doing something to train your ears. You know what I did? Dude, I was a stagehand, and I was selective about the jobs that I did because I had 400 other jobs. But I would put my name, I would call the company and try to put my name on all the shows that I wanted to see. Chris Brown came to town. Trans-Siberian Orchestra came to town. Whoever, Jay-Z and Mary J. when Kyle was mixing. I gotta be at that show. I gotta see what gear Kyle's using. I gotta see what he does at sound check. Put me on the audio crew. How do these guys fly PA? What do they do every day? What are the positions? And so get a gig that puts you in line with exactly what you want to do. I really think it's unfortunate in our business that all these young guys have to start out digital. I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Go figure out analog. It's not a dinosaur. It's where audio comes from. Even though things are digital now, it still starts analog. A kick drum is not digital. It's analog. So go figure out what it is to insert something. Go figure out what all the things to do instead of just pushing a button and it does it for you. Go plug in a reverb, a compressor, an EQ. Go understand what all of that is, and then go digital. And use those things to build yourself. But at the same time, learn all the positions. If I hate it for front of house engineers that don't know how to tune a PA. You got to mix through the PA. You got to understand if that system tech over there is clamping you down, you push it higher and it's getting lower. You should be able to time a line and like if you walk into a venue and the PA's hung wrong and you don't even notice it, how's it going to sound? If the system tech's an idiot, push them out the way and do it yourself. Straight up.
Yeah.
As a monitor guy, and you get to a festival and they gave you some bad frequencies, you got to be your own frequency coordinator. You have to know it, because if you don't, you're leaving the whatever of your job in someone else's hands, because they're not going to fire the frequency coordinator at the gig. Your artist's going to fire you because their ears didn't work. So you got to learn every position. You really do. And you can't start off thinking you're going to be a white glove. It takes years and years and years to be able to walk into a gig late and everything be done for you.
Well, that is great wisdom. Thank you, Jeremy. Kyle, thank you so much, both of you. I really appreciate it. Before we say goodbye, though, I'm going to pass it off to Dan Page. He's going to tell us about some upcoming things. Yes, we're all fans of Dan Page. Dan, if you could tell us what's coming up.
So tomorrow Saturday, our friends Pooch and Tater have made some videos. The first one is coming out tomorrow, building Quantum 7 front of house and monitor sessions, and they actually focus on rack sharing and all of the things that go along with rack sharing. So that's maybe one for you guys to watch. Last week, Tom and Fernando did the first part of optical rack sharing. I'll come to that, Carl. Last week they did the first part of optical theory, which is up on YouTube. We are working on the second part, so keep watching the YouTube channel for everything there. And now, Carl, the last slide. This is a call out, really. If you go and check our Facebook page, the We Make Events hashtag, our industry is on its knees. Nobody's working. There's no gigs. And what we're trying to do is just raise awareness for the freelancers, which everybody who runs our industry, who are out of work and can't go back to work until we can stand next to each other and get on with our lives. And the furlough schemes and all the things that support our industry and our workers, are coming to an end, and we're trying to raise awareness that, we need more help. So please head over to our Facebook, the hashtag We Make Events. If you search for it on social, you'll find out, and we invite you. We'd like you to come and get involved.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. Once again, special thank you to Kyle for running everything in the background. That's our Kyle. And then there's the other Kyle. Hamilton, thank you so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. Jeremy, thank you for sharing the wisdom and everything from you, gentlemen. Dan Page as well. Thank you. We will see you guys not next week because we're actually going to take next week off. So there will be no Ask Us Anything next Friday. So just go back and watch some of the other ones. There are a lot of good ones out there. Until then, we'll be back soon, and we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Cheers.